Hey everyone. So following on from um, my initial video where I talked through my experience so far and you know the struggle that I've had with getting a diagnosis, going down the MS route and getting everything else ruled out. And I'm still no closer to finding any answers. I still believe that it's going to come down to a diagnosis of FND. Um, I mentioned that I just had my spinal MRI, and I spoke to my GP today, and I said to him, has he received the report from the radiologist regarding my spinal MRI? And he said, yep. And he was going through it, and he said, everything's fine. He said, that's good news, isn't it? And I thought to myself, not really. It doesn't. That's not good news at all for me. And most people probably think, what? Did you want something abnormal to come up on your spinal MRI? And it's not that I wanted something abnormal to show up. But if there was something abnormal, then I'd have some form of an answer as to why I'm feeling like this. I explained my symptoms in my last video, but life is extremely difficult at the minute. And obviously there's someone out there who's got it worse than me. But when I'm in the predicament of fighting for a diagnosis for something and I'm going through all these tests, I've suffered with this for 3 months. And I've spoken to people who have suffered for 15 years. And I think it's wrong that they're forced to accept it and to learn to deal with it. I don't think, and so many people agree with me that it's just wrong. Because essentially FND is just a diagnosis for something that the medical practitioner just cannot classify. The unexplained, And it just baffles me that there's no support once you receive the diagnosis. The amount of people who have told me, I've just been, given a couple of leaflets and learned to cope with it. My plan of action with my neurologist is to go to CBT sessions. CBT isn't going to be an answer for me to ever have any sense of normality in my life again. CBT is going to teach me coping mechanisms. That's what it's about. It's about coping with it. It's about managing it. It's about learning to deal with it. And it's just not right. And more needs to be done to help people in my position. And, I say that lightly because I've spoken to people who, they're in a horrendous state because of FND, and more so because of the lack of support that they're receiving as a result of that diagnosis. I'm fortunate I don't really suffer from seizures, and I've seen people who suffer 6 seizures a day, and there's no answers for them. And thankfully there are some holistic treatments. One lady that I've spoken to said that CBD oil was really helping her with her seizures. And it's like, why is that not readily available in the NHS? Why does she have to go out, trial and error in the shops, and find something that works for her? Why is it not available in the NHS? It just baffles me. And I spoke to a lady called Kim, who's the CEO of the charity FND Action. She's been doing some amazing work. And, I said to her, what what has happened in terms of correspondence with the government? You know, have you managed to get any answers from them? And there was actually a petition. And basically the premise of the petition was, to increase funding for people suffering with FND. It reached quite a good number of signatures. I think it reached 10,700 and something, which prompted a response from the government. And the government essentially said, you know, they recognize it as a difficult condition to live with, but essentially it's down to the clinical commissioning groups to decide regional funding. And there is a sense, you know, there's a centre in London, St George's, and Kim described it to me as a bit of a postcode lottery, and that's exactly what it is. You know, if you live in one area, you might get better treatment than you do somewhere else, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So my plan of action for that is I've drafted up a petition, because if the government are going to say that it's down to the clinical commissioning groups to distinguish funding for FND services, then I want to put forward a petition that makes the government obliged to raise awareness for FND, because I don't think people understand how much this affects not just myself, but everyone else suffering from it. It's horrendous to live with. And like I said, I've only been living with it for 3 months. There's people long time suffering, and they deserve much better than, you know, just being fobbed off by their GP. People will say it's all psychological. Could you imagine having, you know, 6 seizures a day and having to live with the anxiety of knowing that, you know, you could have a seizure at any moment, and then going to the GP and them telling you it's all in your head? Is profound, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm gonna set forward a petition. You have to get 5 signatures, and then the government website looks at it, and then they'll give me a link to, you know, send out to everybody. So what I'll do is I'll edit the description of this video, because it's got 5 signatures. So I'll get an official URL for everyone else to sign it, and I'll put it in the description of this video or in the comment section, either one. And as I say, if they're gonna put the funding issues with the CCGs, then the government needs to be obliged to raise awareness for it, because it's not a psychological issue. It's a real issue that myself and everyone else who suffers with it needs more answers for. It needs more treatment, needs more support. It's ridiculous. There's no support for it. And I speak on behalf of, you know, thousands of people suffering with it. And so yeah, that's the first thing that I want to do, is put that petition forward, and I'm going to need the help of everybody to get signatures on that. Like I said, I'll keep it posted in the comment section when I get the official URL. But we're going to need over 10,000 signatures, and, you know, even then we're likely to just get a fobbed off response. But, you know, it ticks one more thing off, that, you know, the government can't turn around and say this isn't our responsibility, it's the responsibility of someone else. And in regards to the clinical commissioning groups, I'm going to contact all of the clinical commissioning groups and put forward a proposition, because with the clinical commissioning groups, it's going to be about, their main focus is going to be monetary value. That's all they're going to care about, budgeting. You know, and I need your guys' support, and I need your guys' ideas on how best to put forward that argument. I mean, for example, the amount of times I've been in A&E because of FND, and, you know, I've probably been there 6 times in the past 3 months, and they've not been able to do anything, and they've sent me away. You know, there needs to be dedicated services and that's going to save money. It's going to save waiting times in A&E. That's just one example. But comment below. I'm going to put my email address in the description as well. So email everything over to me. A lot of people that I speak to with FND connect through the Facebook group. So, you can contact me through there as well. But I'm going to contact every single clinical commissioning group. You can see a list of all the CCGs. Obviously, they're regional. You can find a list online. And what I'd like to do, if you suffer with FND, if you believe that you have FND and you've not received a diagnosis yet, send me an email and tell me which area you're in and which clinical commissioning group covers your area. And just give me a gist of what you're going through. And because I don't think text does it justice, how much pain and like suffering we're all going through. I just don't think it does justice. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do in terms of CCGs. I'm going to contact all of them and hopefully get a response from every single one. And even if one clinical commissioning group increases funding for FND patients in one county, then so be it. It's progress. I also want to set up my own charity, FND Fighters. I want to provide holistic answers and holistic treatments, seeing as it's difficult to get CBD oil on the NHS. Under my charity, I will do my best to fund CBD oil. I'm going to do extensive research into finding which is the most suitable for each symptom. Because obviously it might work for some people, it might not work for all. But even if it works and helps your symptoms a tiny bit, then that's progress as well. One thing that I also want to do under the charity, it's going to take me a while to form the charity. It's quite an extensive application process. You need 3 trustees. I've got 1 already. And so I need 1 more person. If you'd be interested in becoming a trustee, which is, you basically oversee the activities of the charity, then yeah, get in touch with me. I'm not going to be stepping on the toes of, like I said about Kim, FND Action, FND Hope, because we're all working towards the same goal. But I just feel like I have to do something. One other thing that I will try and do is, I know how difficult it is to get a neurologist to see you. I think I saw a stat that something like 29% of people waited over a year to see a neurologist. Is just absolutely ridiculous. If you are in dire straits and you're being told that you've got to wait 6 months to see a neurologist, contact me on the email below if you're struggling, and I will do my best to raise funds for you to see a neurologist privately. I think I paid £250 for the first consultation, just to get the ball rolling, because I know how shit it is. I know how hard it is waiting for an answer. It's horrendous, and it has detrimental effects on your mental health, because you're constantly worrying about it. But that's one thing that I will do. I will try and do. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to help every single person, but if you're struggling, if you're being told that you've got to wait, a ridiculous amount of time for a neurologist appointment, and you want to try and get some answers, send me an email and I'll do all I can to, try and raise some funds with you to fund a private appointment, so you can try and get those answers sooner and try and, ease your fears and ease your anxiety. So that's going to take me a while to get set up, but it's something that I'm kickstarting as of now. What I really need is, I feel like communicating via video is the only way that we're going to be able to, get people to empathize with the condition, because there's no empathy in terms of FND. Like I say, it's being disregarded as just a psychological condition. It's not. This is a real condition with real symptoms that are as severe and as debilitating as multiple sclerosis, as Parkinson's, as all these other, horrible diseases. And we need to start speaking up as a community. And if this inspires one person to do a vlog of, how this all started for them, how it affects their life, then that's something that I can put forward to the clinical commissioning group in your area. And it just gives us more weight to the argument, because more needs to be done. And I just hope and pray that I can, at least make it easier for one person who's suffering from this. And so that's my plan of action. I'll put the petition, once I get the URL, I'll put it in the comments of the description. I'll put my email address down below. And if you're struggling to fund a private neurologist appointment and you're being fobbed off and being told that you've got to wait for stupid amount of time, like 6 months or something, get in contact with me and I'll see what I can do to help you. But yeah, thanks for listening. It's a bit of a rant, but please share, because we need to raise awareness. Like I say, I'm waking up most mornings, I'm struggling to breathe. I've got horrible sensations in my head all the time. I haven't left the house without being in fear for like 3 months since this all started. And I've lost my life to it for 3 months. And there's people who have suffered for 15 years, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair. And I feel now's the time where we've got to, pull together. Everyone's suffering from it, and even if you're not suffering from it, but you might know someone who is, and we need to get some answers from health professionals, and we need this to be treated as a real condition, and not, it's all in your head. So yeah, thanks for listening. Contact me below if you have any questions, I guess. Thank you.